Bipartisanship is in pretty short supply in Washington, but in a time of discord, we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about where lawmakers can find common cause. Joining me now are two Michigan members of Congress that are no stranger to working across the aisle, Democrat Debbie Dingell and Republican Fred Upton. Thank you both for being here tonight. Congresswoman Dingell, let me start with you. We have gotten to a point where the country is so incredibly divided. I'm sure that there will be critics on Twitter who will say that even having a conversation with two people from two different parties is not something that's productive or useful in solving problems. I'm wondering how you see that argument. Do you think that that is a flawed way of looking at things? Do you think we still can work across the aisle, or are the policies of the people on the other side of the aisle from you so toxic and terrible that that's not productive at all?
Well, I absolutely think it is productive, and I think Fred and I are an example of how you reach across the aisle every single day. During this pandemic, there are times that I have talked to Fred 10 or 15 times a day. As soon as a problem would develop at a hospital or something would happen, I'm like, Fred, we got a problem. We brainstorm together. You know, we're Americans first. We're not Democrats or Republicans. And this year during my primary opponent didn't agree with working across the aisle or in bipartisanship. It wasn't real. Well, I disagreed with him, and I'll disagree with anybody who says it now. And by the way, besides just being Americans, when you get elected, you represent everybody in your district, whether you agree with them or not. And listening to other people, listening to other perspectives, finding common ground is a good thing to do.
Congressman Upton, do you agree with that? Is that the experience when you go home and you talk to your constituents? Is that what they want from you? Do they want you to work across the aisle, or do they want you to stay in your partisan corners?
You know, they really do want us to work together. I've often said that people don't care if you have an R or a D next to your name, Republican or Democrat. They want you to work together. And that's Debbie and I are two of the vice chairs of the Problem Solvers Caucus, a group of 50 members, 25 Republicans and 25 Democrats. And we changed the rules of the House to make it work better. We got some other changes that are coming, by the way. But we've taken the lead on a number of issues, from agriculture, immigration. We're working on a COVID package right now, working on race relations, a whole number of different things. We leave our party credentials at the door. We work every week. Actually, during this COVID time, we actually are probably doing 2 or 3 Zoom calls a week with all of our colleagues. It's a great relationship, and we've had outreaches from the White House, from Speaker Pelosi, Kevin McCarthy. We're in a good dialogue with all of them as we really try to get things done. That's what people want us to do.
Well, Congressman, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, the coronavirus relief package is currently stalled. There are millions of Americans who are waiting for unemployment checks. I mean, why should they believe that this working together that you're talking about is actually happening when they're not seeing anything from it right now, and they're trying to make rent? Congressman Upton.
Well, hopefully we're going to see a change. We actually have a conference call a little bit later tonight. We've been working on a package for a number of weeks. I think that there is a sweet spot that we can take up. We're working with the leadership on both sides. The White House knows what we're up to. And at the end of the day, we need to have something that's going to help our states, our cities, our educators, our kids in schools with the additional resources that they need. Obviously, unemployment is a big issue, but there's a sweet spot, and I think that we can find it. We're going to plow ahead yet, even tonight, to see where we are.
Congresswoman Dingell, what's your read on where things stand with coronavirus relief legislation? I know that there's been some pressure among Democrats to do something, to pass something. There was some pressure to do that this weekend. The House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, you know what, from a strategic perspective, that doesn't make sense. We're pushing forward with our HEROES legislation, and she has been, you know, she'd firmly drawn a line in the sand in these negotiations. Do you see any sort of breakthrough the way the Congressman is talking about?
You know, I want to make it really clear that Speaker Pelosi has not said that she will not compromise or negotiate, but there are, now Fred knows, and by the way, our state of Michigan is one of the states that needs it the most, is we need aid to state and local government. Well, the Senate's been unwilling to give any aid to state and local government. So Fred and I are like, how are we going to make that happen? Who are we going to talk to? And we both are, you know, when we're out there, we're hearing from people who are scared to death, that are worried about how they're going to live, their rent, their mortgage, food. We've got a real food insecurity problem here. But we talk. You don't get anything done if you don't talk and try to figure out, okay, what can we do? What's our strategy? Who can we push? How are we? But we won't give, I won't give in on state and local. But Fred knows that our local cities need that aid. So how do we get it done? You can't solve a problem if you don't talk to each other.
And Congressman Upton, what would you say to, there are some Republicans who say, hey, we can't help out those blue state governors. Is that something that is productive as you try to work across the aisle?
Well, you know, there's, I tell you, Bill Cassidy, a Republican from Louisiana, Joe Manchin, Menendez, they've got a bill in the Senate. We've got a companion bill in the House. I'm a co-sponsor of it called the SMART Act. It has a formula for our states, cities, and counties. It's based on population. Michigan's going to get more money than Delaware. It's based on COVID cases in Michigan, sadly. We've had nearly 100,000 now. And it's based on loss of revenue. And it's a fair formula, a lot like what revenue sharing was back in the 80s when President Reagan was in office. And it will trickle down to impact the cities as well as the counties as well as the states. We also have to do some more for our educators. You know, there's nothing more precious than our kids. And no parent is going to send their son or daughter on to school if they don't think that it's safe. So they need additional resources for their teachers as well as for the students and the homes where they come back. And we've got additional resources that we're going to need too, called broadband. Jim Clyburn and I have introduced a bill that's going to bring broadband to underserved areas in a major way. And, you know, some of my schools, believe it or not, 70% of the kids that are being told to do e-learning don't have broadband at home. That's not acceptable. Jim Clyburn believes that, as so do I.
All right, Debbie Dingell, Fred Upton, Congresswoman, Congressman, thank you so much for this conversation tonight. I really appreciate it.